Any volunteer, or I just go ahead?
Volunteer.
Okay.
Let's pray. Our dear Heavenly Father, in the name of Jesus Christ, Jehovah God, this evening we are before you. We trust you for your grace, for your faithfulness, trust you for your wisdom. As we start this webinar, Lord, I pray that you open our hearts to hear from you, allow us to learn your experience and as various people from with different expectations, Lord. So I pray, Heavenly Father, that you use our facilitators tonight to impact knowledge, wisdom, and understanding on the various issues that our teenagers are going through. So be with us as we start to the end of this webinar. All the glory and honor shall come back to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. So, my name is Amanda Wamwema, and I'm glad to be your host today on this webinar. And as you all know, today we are going to be helped as parents, as guardians, on how to deal with our teenagers who can be challenging sometimes. Sometimes they could be stubborn, disobedient. But at the end of the day, we are going to be empowered on how to deal with all these challenges without losing our authority, but also harnessing and keeping our relationship with them. Okay, and it's going to be a great journey for all of us, I hope, and we are going to work out with some lessons. So we are going to learn we are going to be responding to all these challenges with such great wisdom and structure and love for our teenagers. So just like I already introduced myself, and I'm glad to be taking you through today. And before we start, I want to just want us to, share something as parents, as guardians, because I believe all of us have had a chance to. I think I'm going to share it in the chat. You're going to share with me. You're going to share with me the behaviors that have challenged you most as a parent of a teenager. You know, let me put it in the chat so that we can share our challenges. So as we go through everything, you're going to be looking at these challenges you're facing, and you're going to be getting hints and direction on how moving forward you're going to be handling your teenagers, without losing your authority, without losing that relationship with them. Just give me a minute as I sort this. So I've put a few challenges. It's just 3 of them. So let's share which one is your biggest challenge as a teenager, parent. Okay. And even those that are beyond the options I've given you, just share so that, other parents can also see what other parents are going through. Okay, I can see Jocelyn, it's phone, social media addiction. Wow. Ben, untidiness in boys, spending a lot of time on the screen, mood swings. Great. Let's share. Not obeying curfew time. I see. Rebellion. I'm glad that we are all going to be helped today in our journey as parents. So we just want to let you know that you're not alone. And it's not that these things can't be dealt with, or the challenges you have, you can still deal with those challenges and have your teenager, be brought up in a way that you desire, maintain without you losing your authority or even the relationship that you have with them. Let's keep sharing those challenges. And maybe those who can, you can still share how those challenges make you feel as a parent. Because sometimes, you get frustrated, or you feel helpless, or you feel angry, or you feel confused or disrespected. These are all challenges that we go through and how we feel. So let's share how we feel when we face all these challenges as parents. I want us to be as open as possible. Let's interact as we wait for our speaker to come in just a few minutes. I think it will be in less than 5 minutes. I see Bena feels like she has lost control. Maureen says the challenge is failure to obey instantly, reluctance in doing assignments, Jessie, ungratefulness. Wow. Amazing. Refusing to take house duties. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing with us. And I believe by the time this webinar has been, handled, we are also going to share our questions as the webinar goes on. Let's do what? Let's share those questions as you're listening as our speaker is about to start. Let's share the questions, Let's be as interactive as possible. When you're in a gathering of parents and you're dealing with this kind of a topic, everyone needs to be felt and heard. I see Arthur's child is highly disconnected. Okay. Then Lydia, obsession with beauty. Wow, I see teenagers. That is common with teenagers, They want to try out everything they're seeing. I see Nancy already sending in your question. It will be handled. So after our speaker has started, wow, my 15-year-old is obsessed with perfumes. She will do anything for perfume. Wow. Poor dress code, entitlement to gadgets. Wow. I believe with all that we are seeing, every issue by close of this webinar, we shall have an idea on how you're going to handle it and how you are going to help your teenager so that you're all on the same page. Your relationship will be kept intact. Another one is sharing lies a lot and they're very defensive. Wow. So if you joined in thinking that you're doing so badly as a parent, you're not alone. Every parent is facing a different challenge altogether, but we are here to help each other. So for those who joined in a bit later, my name is Amanda, and I'm the host of this webinar. I work with Copath Impact, an organization that is supporting parents, that is supporting schools, that is supporting churches and organizations to make values, livable. Because sometimes values seem like they're so abstract, but in our day-to-day, when we break them down, they become so livable, as long as there is an intention of, practicing, daily, just like anything else that I've learned over life, and it has become part of you. The different practices. I see a lot of people embrace workouts. A lot of them, embrace different activities that are good for their lives. So we are also saying that if we can embrace, we are here to support all these different, the ecosystem, the churches, the parents, the communities, the schools, to embrace values and make them livable. So we support them through different ways. For parents, we have the parenting toolkits, we hold the parenting classes, but also we in schools there is what they call values ingrained education. So we walk that journey with all these different sectors around us. So as you settle in, be ready. If you want to take notes, but we shall also share the slides, and there will be a recording for those who want to recap what has happened. So thank you very much, and let's have our speaker. He's ready for us. Thank you very much.
Yes, we bless the Lord once again, a new day to sharpen and make each other better in this journey that God has given us as parents. Parenting is, in its sense, is not easy. It requires a lot of grace. It requires a lot of encouragement. We keep saying that you cannot parent alone, especially in this time and age, 21st century. There's a lot. You cannot do it alone. Your child in that house, in the olden days, maybe 1990s and before, and also 80s, maybe early 2000, your child was being parented by you alone. But today, as you're giving instruction in the sitting room, YouTube is giving another instruction, cartoons are giving another instruction, Facebook, TikTok. So your child today is being parented by the entire world. Is not by you alone. So we cannot parent the same way we were parented in those days. We must develop the skill, the capacity, the understanding of parenting a child in a diverse world, in a multicultural, diverse world. Your child has not yet learned to sieve and filter out information. Yet this information is coming from all directions. In the olden days, we realized that your child was being parented, maybe you as a parent, maybe the neighbors who come in, maybe the aunties and relatives and the school. But today, your child is surrounded by all this information. Right now, in those days, we had friends to celebrate as physical friends. Right now, we have what we call the virtual friends, and the virtual friends have influence on our children. They're driven by the likes, the follows, and all that. So as a parent, we must get to that understanding that it's no longer the same terrain as the one you are raised in. It's a little bit different. And so it requires our approach to be also a different. Allow me to share the slides that you're going to present. Just in case you're not able to see the slide, please give me a thumbs up, then I should be able to work on them. If the network is poor, kindly do not be left behind.
We are getting interruptions from Emma. Emma needs to mute his microphone.
Yes, Emma, kindly mute that. Are you able to see my slides?
Yes, we can see your slides. Can you share your screen?
Yes, Emma, kindly mute that. Are you able to see my slides? Are you able to see my slides? Can someone give me a thumbs up?
Yes, they're clear.
Perfect. You're welcome, and we bless the Lord for today. Now, dealing with stubborn and disobedient teenagers. This title is a bit hard and hitting. It looks a bit judgmental, but from our day-to-day experience with parents, this is what they keep bringing up. Just to lay it naked without sugarcoating it. They keep saying my teenager is very stubborn. Whatever I tell her, they're very disobedient. So that was the motivation for us to wear that title. It may not sound so easy for a number of us, but this is from what we've gathered from different parents that we keep interacting with every day. So our purpose today is to help you as a parent reclaim your authority without losing their trust, because God has given you that authority to raise and nurture those children in a way that He expects to. We work with an organization called Corporate Impact, and we exist to make values teachable, trainable, ingrainable, and livable. How do we do this? Teachability, we ensure that we are able to guide families, homes, organizations, and schools to define each value clearly so that a child can easily understand. Without understanding, then it becomes hard for them to learn. Trainable, we're able to guide them how to translate values into simple daily practices that are easily repeatable for them to become. This comes from what we call the neuroplasticity, continuous repetition or continuous exposure to a certain practice leads to its being formed within our brain. And 3, we make values ingrainable. How can a value be repeated consistently until it becomes part of the child's habits? And lastly, how can a child live out those values on a daily basis in all they do? Why do we focus on values? We feel this is one of the most neglected issues and aspect of human life. They're very critical and foundational. But unfortunately, we don't see people taking a very keen notice and effort in showing them that they're trained and people are living it out. I want you to try and name any behavior, any part of the world, any behavior or any moral behavior that is not linked to the presence or absence of a value. Where there's corruption, we are talking about presence or absence of integrity and respect and accountability. Where there's a child who is lazy, it is diligence, lack of accountability, lack of obedience. It all goes back to values. Where there's a child who is not laying the bed, it is an aspect of responsibility. Where there's one who's bullying others in school, there's an aspect of empathy or compassion which is missing. Whether it is people full in prisons, it was a value which was missing. That's why they end up in prison. Whether if they stole, it was a lack of self-control, lack of respect, lack of empathy. That's why they end up stealing. If lack of purpose in life, all of them, everything goes back to the values. Students who are burning schools, it is lack of self-control, lack of responsibility, accountability, and they lack the skill of communication and all that. So values are critical. You cannot think of transforming society without thinking of trading values. Now, parenting comes in 2 forms. Most of the time we struggle because we rely on one form of parenting. We are all born with the natural part of parenting. This comes natural, it's instinctive. It comes in form of love, attachment to a child, personal experience, culture, and everyday response. It's expressed through care and protection of the child, affection, bonding, instinctive correction. You just know that is wrong, you tell the child stop. You cane, you slap, you do whatever to make the child stop. Usually inherited from parents, the parenting patterns that we went through, usually based on emotional reactions to the child's behavior. This is a natural form of parenting. Any natural living being that's a parent or is nurturing young ones, so it is a lion or a bird or a hen, or it practices this kind of parenting. It is a parenting approach that we are all raised with and we grew up in all those years. And it is the one we use to deal with the most basic things at home. But the world has evolved, and we know it. Relying on the natural form of parenting alone is not adequate to raise a child in the 21st century. A child who is exposed, a child who is having influence from all different sources in the world, a child who has YouTube, who is protected by the law. You cannot rely on only the natural part of parenting. You must move on to develop the skilled parenting approach. For example, your child is addicted to social media or the screen. The natural aspect of parenting cannot help that child come out of that. You need a skill to get a child out of that. A child who's constantly disobedient or lazy, who's not finishing up the works, is every day is not laying the bed. You struggle with a child to shower. You require a skill to be able to help that child, that parent. And that's why we come in as a co-path, and we develop our different courses. There's values-driven parenting coach, and it's able to give you all these aspects of how to raise a child from the skilled perspective of parenting. We have the values-driven parenting fundamental course, one is starting next week. It's able to provide for you all those kinds of aspects to be able to raise a child in the modern world. And many other courses will be coming in. There's one will be starting in April, Parenting by Design, the 5 windows of parental influence from conception to independent living. That will come in April. Raising a child in the 21st century. It's also a course we'll be doing. So you need a skill to raise a child in today's world. How do you manage the different pressures and all that? How do you build values and character intentionally? Right? So now, parenting as co-path, just a minute. Today, we are looking at one of the problem you're facing today. Most of us have dropped the different challenges they're facing as parents on the charts and be able to share it, those who came in a bit earlier. We've put in some of them here, which is probably I'm trying to address today. You ask your child for something small, you get your eyes, they roll up the eyes and they flat out. Basically, they refuse. You try different approaches, you ground, you punish, you take away the phones, you lecture. Nothing seems to be working. And every day your teen seems to be pulling away, spending more time in the room or with friends. You feel like you're losing influence. And when you actually need it the most, you feel exhausted from the constant battles that you experience every day. Probably you're a single mother, and maybe the father is not there, and all those kinds of experiences, and you're basically struggling. Underneath of all these things, you feel so scared. You're scared for their safety, you're scared for their future, you're scared for their relationships, and you are not sure how things are going to turn out. So as a parent, you find yourself you're actually struggling emotionally. And this ends up affecting all other aspects of your life. Now, tonight, we are going to cover why traditional discipline actually makes things worse. It does not work. When I say traditional, I mean the normal, natural approach to parenting does not work. We're also going to cover the real reasons behind stubborn and disobedient behavior. Then we shall take you through a 4-step framework to rebuild connection and reclaim your authority to influence a child. I will look at 1 or 2 practical tips just to help you start. and a few one or two real life stories. Now, the trap that most parents fall in, what we think and what actually happens in the child. If I ground them longer, they will learn. Or if I cane them more, they will learn. Or if I take away this privilege, they will learn. But what do you get instead? Resentment grows, relationships keeps eroding. Yeah. The more you get stricter, you think they're going to listen, but the more you get stricter, they push back harder. But here's the hard truth. These approaches almost always backfire with teenagers, and we're going to look at them. When our teenagers push back, and for teenagers, control always backfires. Not because they want, but how God has wired them. Why does control backfire for teenagers? Teenagers' brain is wired for two things. One, autonomy. When I say autonomy, I mean to drive to become their own person. From 10 years to 18 years, the child is now the brain of a child, the neuroplasticity is becoming more, I can say, less flexible. And it is continuously solidified, what you call identity formation and independence living or autonomy. The child starts preparing to live out of your home from 10 years. Now, from 10 years, they go through different phases. We don't look at that. But they go through different stages, about 5 different stages from 10 years to the time they're leaving your home by about 18 years. From 18 years, when the child messes up, you don't care, and goes to prison. There's a reason why, because they've now fully matured up. It is a divinely created process in the child, and they have nothing to do about it. So from 10 years, the child starts seeking autonomy. And 2, they start seeking what you call belonging outside the home, what you call peer connection. They start valuing friends more than you as a parent. Why? Because they're starting to live outside your direct control as a parent. So when parents increase control, teens experience it as a threat to their autonomy. The brain goes into what you call fight and flight mode. They don't think that mom and dad are right, so I should comply. That's not how they think. They think I need to resist even harder to protect my freedom, because that's how they're wired by God to start thinking of living on their own from 10 years. This is not bad parenting, it's biology. When we look at the teenage brain, the developmental mismatch. During the early adolescent, when we look at my graph, I hope you're able to see, not sure if you're able to see my cursor. But when you look at the lower side, the lower bottom, lower left, you'll see developmental mismatch. There's emotional spike, system peaks, early adolescent. When you go up, you'll see I've written amygdala, which is part of the brain. This part is responsible for emotion and reactive responses. This part developed fast during the early adolescence from about 10 years to about 14, 15 years. From about late 15 to 18, depending on the person, the prefrontal cortex picks up. So the one which is responsible for reasoning and control comes in a bit later, from about 16 years, 17. This now comes in as a control time. The one which is responsible for emotional feelings, reaction, is the one which has been in control. As a parent, you must be able to understand the child that you're raising and which stage they are in. So the control spiral, when you try to control the child, me to proceed to the next slide. When you try to control your child, this is what happens. I call the vicious cycle of control. The teen will push back because of how they're wired, and they're not reasoning because the reasoning part of the brain develops later on. Then the parent increases the control. The teenager feels more control. Then they push back harder. The parent increases further control. Then the relationship breaks down. Then the teenager shuts down or rebels, locks himself in the bedroom. When he comes from school, he goes to hide himself in the bedroom. What happens eventually? The parent loses control, loses influence. Know that the teenager once is doing it deliberately, but just how they're naturally wired by God. There's something they're developing into that you cannot stop as a parent. So what control actually teaches? The unintentional curriculum of you trying to control your child. What control teaches versus what we actually want to teach. Control teaches that but power matters more than relationship. Yet you as a parent, you want to teach that trust matters more than power. Control teaches that comply only when watched. That's what it's teaching the child. That's what it's teaching, that the silent curriculum, an intentional curriculum, control is teaching the child that only comply when I watch you. Yet as a parent, you are supposed to be teaching govern yourself from within. Control doesn't teach that. Control teaches that freedom is something to fight for. Yet what you need to teach as a parent is freedom is something to earn. Control teaches the child that they don't trust me. Yet what you want to teach is I can earn the trust. So the harder we hold on, the more they slip away. The shift that changes everything is that we need to shift from control to influence. The old mindset is I need to control my teenager. The new mindset is I need to influence my teenager. You have to shift from control to influence. My teen is being defiant. The new mindset is my teen is communicating something. I must win this battle in the old mindset. The new mindset is I must preserve this relationship. In the old approach is rules will fix this. So you can't be different rules. Do this, do that. No for, no what. But the new mindset that you need to develop is connection will fix everything. In the old mindset that you always have is authority is given by my role as a parent. But the new mindset is authority is earned through trust. You are not the only person in authority in that child's life. So the goal is not control. The goal is influence. Here is what you need to understand. You cannot control a teenager into being a good adult. You can only control them into compliance, rebellion, and hiding. Basically, those are the outcomes of control. So the goal is not to control, the goal is influence. And influence is given. You must earn it. You don't take it. Your teen will only be influenced by you if they trust you, number one, if they feel heard by you, and if they believe you are on their side. That's why the old approaches fail. They destroy the very thing you need the most. That's a strong relationship enough to carry your influence. Do we have any question there before I proceed to the next step? You can drop it in the chat in case of anything. Allow me to proceed to the next step, which is the 4-step framework, the path forward. How do we move on? With that, do we handle it? Number one is diagnose the issue that the child is going through. Find out what really driving that behavior? Number, how can I get on my teen side? Influence from the opposite side. Number 3, establish non-negotiable collaboratively. What boundaries must hold? The quick question that you must ask. Then 4, train through graduated freedom. How can they earn freedom in a responsible way? How can they responsibly earn freedom? Remember, this come after. You're going to look at each of these 4 things, the 4-step framework of changing any kind of behavior in your child. So the first thing is diagnose the problem. The first question is not how do I make them stop this behavior of all the time being on the phone, coming home late, talking back when I talk to them, or sleeping up late, keeping the room tidy and all that, not showering, leaving the bed disordered and all that. The first question is not how to make them stop. It is, what is this behavior telling me? Behavior is communication. Defiance is the symptom, not the actual disease. Behavior is just an outward manifestation of something hidden inside. So all behaviors are recognizable, just like all diseases. What's apparent is to figure out what is going on underneath. So the ask is to find out. Look, every behavior has matter. Respond effectively, you must understand what the accuracy of the diagnosis. Just like any disease, for you to effectively manage a disease or condition, it largely depends on how accurate diagnosis of that disease was. Surface level diagnosis leads to misapplied response that only worsens the situation. Now, human behavior stems from different aspects of a human life. What we call them layers. There's what's called the developmental layer, there are about 8 layers that shapes a human behavior. There's a developmental layer, there's a value system layer, there's the emotional layer, there's a belief layer, the personality layer, the relationship or relational layer, environmental layer, and the skill layer. We are going to look at a few of them, just help you diagnose the problem that the child is having and how for you to better respond to it. So when we talk about the we're going to look about 3 or 4 of them. The rest of them we encourage, at least if you can be able to enroll to these courses of ours, you should be able to learn all of them. The developmental layer, what is it? The normal stage of growth all children go through. Children go through different stages. There's 0 to 3, there's 4 to 9, there's 10 to 18, and there's 19 plus. Those, we're looking at the neurodevelopmental stages of a child's brain. How does it affect behavior? Teens are biologically wired to seek independence and autonomy from parents. Some defiance is healthy separation. It is not rebellion. The brain's prefrontal cortex or the impulse control is not yet fully developed. It is developing. Diagnosis question, is this a developmental stage issue or is something else? Is this normal for this child? Are they supposed to be pushed away right now? Is this typical for adolescent development? does it fall within the mental layer or not? Your response after diagnosis is adjust expectation. Do not patho. The network is a bit poor, but it's okay. Read about adolescent development, know what's happening in their mind, normalize the experience. It's normal to want more freedom at your age, provide safe opportunities for independent. Don't take developmental pushing personally. Hold boundaries with understanding, not anger. It's not about those children, it's where they are. So the first thing, try and understand, does this behavior fall within the developmental layer? That 10 to 18, what kind of behavior do I expect from this child? What's happening in the brain that's making them behave this way? So that you're able to see, to guide how you're going to respond. If you realize the behavior falls within the normal developmental stage, then adjust your expectation and start learning to live with it so that you don't get stressed up and worked up because of where the child is. Number two, ask yourself, does it come from the emotional status? What do you mean? When we talk about the emotional layer, we're talking about the feelings that are driving the behavior. They're often hidden beneath the surface. So as a parent, you must be able to ask yourself that. How does this emotional layer affect behavior? Behavior is often a cover of pain. Anger masks as fear. So the child fears, but inside it's anger. Defiance masks as insecurity. The child is defiant, but inside is just insecure. So if you cane the defiance, you've not resolved the insecurity. So you're going to keep experiencing the same thing. Withdrawal masks as overwhelmed. So the child is overwhelmed, but to show the same, he has not learned the skill of managing, of being overwhelmed. He responds to it by withdrawing. Arrogance masks as low self-worth. So you see the child very arrogant. But this arrogance is communicating low self-worth. It's not a behavior issue. Without you knowing that, you're going to address this as a behavior and you respond in a very hard way to the child. Perfectionism masks fear of failure. So the child fears to fail and he tries to do something 1,000 times just to get it right, perfectionism. But what you're supposed to be addressing is fear of failure, not taking a whole day to finish something small. People pleasing masks fear of rejection. So because the child fears rejection, they start trying to please different people, please the parents, please friends, please neighbors. You are not supposed to address the pleasing people. They are organized that it is fear of rejection that I need to address. And so address it. Once you address it, you're able to eliminate the people pleasing habits. So the question you need to ask yourself, is this the state of the emotions or what is it? What might they be feeling underneath? What are they trying to protect themselves from that is showing up in this behavior? When did this behavior start? What else was happening? So from this emotional layer, what do? You address the feelings, not the behavior. Create safety for emotional expression, validate the feelings. It makes sense. You feel angry, validate it based on how you talk to the child. Teach emotional vocabulary and regulation. That's a skill that a child needs to learn. Model naming their feelings. If deep pain, consider professional support. So once you're able to diagnose this behavior is coming from this emotional layer of a child, then you are able to craft your parental response to it. Let's look at the belief these are the hold about themselves, about and repeated messages from the parents. From the time the child is born, 0 years, or 0 days, 0 hour, to the time you are coming to discover that issue. He has been forming their belief system from the words that you speak, from the experiences, from whatever they observe between you and your husband, from the environment, the people they play with. They're forming a belief system that ends up determining how they behave. So beliefs become self-fulfilling prophecies. For example, a child who takes things without asking, who steals, they believe that if I ask, they will say no, because has experienced the same before. A child who stops communicating, stops trying to communicate, believes no one listens to me. So he folds because that's what he believes inside him. One who gives up on school, he believes that I'm stupid. Maybe didn't perform somewhere well and what was spoken the child. So he ends up giving up on school. One who acts out or withdraws, inside with them, they feel, I don't belong. One who believes, I have to be perfect, okay, is one who crumbles under mistakes. So belief within itself affects how the child behaves. And how do you diagnose this? You must ask yourself as a parent, what do they believe about this situation? What past experience have shaped this belief? Is this belief accurate or distorted about themselves? Where did this belief come from? What messages have they received? And from the outcomes of those questions, you're meant to craft your response after that diagnosis. You're meant to provide new evidence that contradicts that false belief. So gently explore the belief. What makes you think that as the child? What do you feel inside? Okay. Then create experiences that prove the belief was wrong. Within our training and our tools, we use what we call affirmation tools, the affirmation cards, to reshape and heal distorted belief that children have about themselves. Okay? Be consistent over time. Beliefs change slowly. Name the new truth. I noticed you asked and I said yes. What does that tell you? You're trying to diagnose the belief and create a better response. And for those very deep-seated beliefs that the child has built over since they were young, as a parent, we encourage that seek professional help to be able to address them. Let's look at the personality layer. We've looked at 3 layers. Let's look at the personality layer. Then we shall look at maybe one more. And then we shall move to something else. We are trying to diagnose the behavior of that child, the personality layer, way of interacting with the world. That's the personality layer. In our courses, our approach, we call them the natural predispositions. It is basically how the child is wired by the Creator to interact with the world, how they view the world, how they respond to things. We keep saying that even if you stay with somebody 1,000 years, you will never be the same like that person. That made you differently, you can never be the same. And if the children are different, then parent them differently. Why are you parenting them the same way? We say that if God gave you different children, why do you respond to them the same way? And what causes whereby people don't have, they've never discovered their purpose, because purpose is in the design of that person. Your purpose is in your design. The purpose, I have a glass here. The purpose of this glass, for those who can see, it's how it is designed. It is carrying water. The purpose of this laptop, the purpose of the table, it is how it is designed. The purpose of a shoe, it is how it's designed. During the manufacture, let me say the formation of a child, when the child is still in the womb being formed, there are 3 things that God places in that child during the formation that you have no authority over, but yours is to discover them and be able to find what they represent out. Number 1, God is forming what to call the form, the different body parts, the brain, the heart, the stomach, the legs, Then 2 is forming what to call the temperament or the predispositions. Within those predispositions, he places what to call strengths and weaknesses and preferences and inclinations. And within those ones, he places what to call purpose, which is the third thing. So the child is being created in the womb. Those are things God is creating. The form, and within that form, he creates the preferences, the inherent inclinations, what we call the personality, the predispositions. Then within those predispositions, he places what we call purpose, which is governed by the inherent strengths. I keep using the example of Maguire in Manchester United. Maguire is inherently wired to be a defender. If you take Maguire and start training him as a striker, and you give him, he goes to play and he fails to score, or does not behave like a striker, and you start condemning him. First of all, you did not understand how Maguire is wired. You raised him the wrong way. Or assume Maguire is naturally wired to be a defender. And then he has a brother called Messi, who's wired to be a forward. He has a forward, another striker called Sesko. I think people can understand which team I support. Yes. And I think you've Googled and you have seen what happened today in the football game today. So, but let's continue that. We'll come later on. Yes. If you take Maguire and you train him together with Messi or Ronaldo, and you train him together with a goalkeeper, maybe Arsenal and Raya, and you start training them the same way, you give them the same strategies, same everything. If your approach is based on the striker, Messi will succeed. David Raya will lose it and hate his life. The purpose will end up being destroyed. Maguire, the same thing. The midfielder who's maybe Hernandez, who's closer to the striker, he will end up succeeding, almost somehow discover what they were created for in life and end up living out their purpose. But the other two will end up totally lost in life. This explains why in a family of maybe 4 children, you find 2 have succeeded, they're enjoying their life. Others are struggling in life. They don't know why they went to good schools, everything was okay, but they just end up struggling in life. Parenting approach that's not aligned to the child that God gave you. So each personality type has different needs and triggers. For example, the greens need logic. They feel disrespected when controlled without reason. They'll always lock out. Oranges need freedom. They'll always rebel when trapped, not because they want it. That's just how they're wired. The blues need connection. They shut down when relationally hurt. Gold needs structure. They unravel. They just get confused. They can't think. They can't move when they're chaos. I think in my house, you have a green, you have an orange. We have a gold, and we know them. Each of them, once we discover this slowly, we started raising them in the way they're supposed to be raised. And from that time, we've been actually enjoying our parenting. And we feel they're happy, they're enjoying, parenting is aligned and all that. So diagnosis, is this a personality issue? When your child is rebelling, ask yourself, who is my child? Is this a personality issue? Is this how they're wired? What does the temperament need to feel respected? I know we have the older approach. I know you keep talking about melancholy, sanguine, but that's an older approach. That's not modern. We've done more research, and our approach is what we call the color predisposition that covers that and goes much more deeper into understanding the child. Okay, so all this information is available in our courses that we keep training. And if you want to gain more knowledge, just skill yourself in the area of parenting, we encourage you that to be able to join those courses. Now, what's your response? As a parent, study their temperament or their predisposition. adapt your approach to their needs, what we call exclusive parenting or adaptive parenting. Don't just raise all your children the same way you behave, respond to them the same way. Give grains logical reasons. Don't just tell them emotional reason or vague reasons. No, they want a logical reason. Oranges, give them choice and freedom. For blues, connection and reassurance. Gold, give them structure and predictability. As a parent, stop expecting to be someone that never give you what. One, there are about 8 areas. We've looked about 3. This is the 4th one that guides choices under construction. How does it affect behavior? Values.
Can I ask a question here?
Are trainable through practice.
Can I ask a question?
Not just taught.
Oh, okay.
In case you have a question, kindly drop it into the
Okay.
chat, and first the one leading us will be able to pick them up. She'll be checking the chat frequently and be able to pick it up. So repeated behavior often reveals which values are still being built and need more intentional training. A child who lies needs more honesty practice. A child who hits others needs more self-control practice. A child who is lying, as I mentioned before, needs to be trained in honesty. It simply means the child has not learned to speak honesty. For those who read the Bible, it says that train up the child the way they should go. So the thing is training. Training entails 2 things: the practice and repetition of that practice. Just 2 things: the practice itself and continuous repetition. In football, maybe the coach will tell the players, the practice is be 2-3 meters from the person who has the ball. So every time the player has to look at, am I 3 meters? Then he moves at 3 meters. Then they keep practicing it every day, repeating it every day. The more they repeat, the more the brain wires itself. Whatever you repeatedly do, you become it. That's training. There's a big difference between teaching and training. We are commanded to train and not to teach. Teaching is the prerequisite of training. When you stop at teaching, you only provide information. The child becomes aware that this is how honesty looks like, this is how integrity looks like, but does not have the capacity to act it out, to become it. Training provides the ability. Teaching provides the knowledge, the awareness. Now, teaching is what happens in homes. Parents talk about a behavior. They're providing the awareness. In schools, about values, even in most churches, they teach, but they do not train. Training, you take the behavior, you take the value. Let's take an example of responsibility. Responsibility itself is a very abstract value, and the child does not understand what's a responsibility. You must break it down into trainable, concrete actions, what you call the practices. For example, how does responsibility look like? Responsibility is laying the bed, showering, brushing your teeth. That's the child understands. So how do you treat responsibility? You say, wake up and lay the bed. Tomorrow, wake up and lay the bed. The next day, wake up and lay the bed. What are you doing? You are repeating. The child's brain is wiring. Slowly by slowly is wiring and is becoming. Now that is training. We have what we call the handover method of training for every child that every parent must practice. How do you go about it? The first thing is you want to practice responsibility and you're using laying the bed. The first thing is you lay what we call modeling. Lay the bed when the child is saying. It can be your own bed, it can be their bed. Then do it again when the child is saying. Repeat several times. The child is saying. Move to the next stage. Do it together. He's holding that side, you're holding that side, you lay the bed. As you're talking, as you're chatting, why the bed is important to lay every day. You're training now. What to call the handover method. And thirdly, let the child lay the bed as you're helping them. Okay? So it's now shifting the responsibility. Keep on repeating that. You are training. Then the child will lay the bed as you're watching, as you guide from far. You're handing over. Then eventually, let the child keep on laying the bed. You've handed over. Then let the child keep on repeating. Yours is now to mount a repetition. Was it done? Was not done? Then eventually, the child becomes. You have done what? You have trained. That child, whatever you train, people don't forget. I trained to ride a bicycle, I don't know which year, when probably I was about 13, 14 years. So many years back. But during COVID, I bought a bicycle. When I was many years. And when I bought the bicycle, I didn't have to train again. I just started riding it. Whatever you train, the child becomes. Train up the child the way they should live. And when they're old, they will not depart from it. The biggest challenge is that we do not train. What are some of the diagnosis questions you need to ask? Is this a value that is underdeveloped or undeveloped? What values might still need training? If a child is lying, no, there's an issue with honesty or integrity. Okay? If you have removed the aspect of fear, those are the layers we talked about. If the child is lazy, no, this is diligence issue. Or time management, procrastination, the same thing. So you know that I need to create practices in the area of diligence. And then we start the handover process. We do it together as a slowly handover and allow the child to continue. Many times we punish our children, we complain, but we have never trained the children. The children don't know. They were never born knowing those things. If you don't train, the child doesn't have the skill. If you don't learn how to ride the bicycle, you do not have the skill. If you have never trained in integrity, you don't have the skill of integrity. That's what the Bible says. Hebrews 5:14. Without training, the person does not have the skill to do it. So identify the value. This is your response. Train the values systematically. Don't just punish the child. The lying, when the child is lying, is telling you, Mom, my heart is devoid of honesty. You have not trained me in honesty as a parent. It's just a symptom of the condition of the child's heart. So when the child lies and you take the cane, what are you doing? You're trying to manage the behavior temporarily, but without going ahead to train the heart. The child will live in that behavior management state. A time will come when mom and dad is not there with a cane and he's a policeman on the road. He was never trained in integrity. He takes bribe. He was in government. He was never trained in integrity. He does not know. He knows what integrity is. He can define, even write books about it, but does not have the capacity. He was not trained in it. So corruption. That's why I keep saying that the only way to eliminate corruption is a heart issue. It's the absence of integrity, absence of accountability, absence of responsibility, absence of respect. For us to eliminate corruption in the nation, we've got to go back and train. Many parents are not training their children in the area of values. And that's why the world is becoming much more lawless as we get along. So you're supposed to train, create daily practice opportunities for a child to practice that value, track progress visually, We provide the tools in these areas for those who are part of a class, those who've been able to purchase a values-driven child toolkit. It comes with all training tool things that are able to help you as a parent to train. Use natural and logical consequences that connect to the child. When you get probably one of our books, we call it the Raising a Disciplined Child in the 21st Century. It has all these things, natural, logical consequence and all that. Be patient. Values are built over time. They take months and years. Allow me not to go to look at those other three areas. The skill layer, the skill is just the capacity for the child to be able to do that thing you expect him to do it. If he does not have the skill, he will not do it. And you'll look at it as rebellion, but it's a skill issue. The environmental layer, then the relationship layer. Step one was to diagnose the issue. And then craft your response based on that, your diagnosis. Step two, rebuild the connection before correction. You've discovered the issue is here. You cannot correct that issue in the absence of connection. You cannot influence a teenager who does not feel connected to you. If your relationship is broken, your authority is meaningless. Your teenager will comply out of fear, he'll comply temporarily, but they will not be shaped by you. So the thing is, first be in the same space. You need three things, what you call the three keys to rebuilding your connection with the teenager. Okay? Three keys. Number one, align your parenting to who they are. Become the parent they need. You are not creating something new. You are discovering and finding it out. Number two, align your parenting approach to the developmental stage. For this teenage is become a coach and a mentor. Number three, map your language and communication. Love, talk less, listen more. We shall look at that 20% talk and 80% listening, because the youth, the teenagers from 10, they're discovering. You already discovered during your days, they're discovering. Every time we are naturally wired, when we discover something, you want to talk. So this time, they're looking for a listening ear. We're going to look at that. So let's look at key number one. Align your parenting to who they are. For you to reconnect with your child, rebuilding the connection, getting back to your child's life to be able to influence them. So the key number one is align your parenting to who the child is. One of the things that locks parents out of the children's life and denies them influence is what you call misaligned parenting. We mentioned that each child is different. When you parent against their nature, you create constant friction, rebellion, and stubbornness. When you parent with their nature, connection flows easily and naturally. This we are talking out of experience. Here's what I've experienced in the house. Parenting right now is very easy. Things just seem to be flowing. I gave an example of Maguire. Let me go back to him. Maguire was a defender for Manchester United. Start training Maguire as a striker. This is the example I have. Maguire is going to struggle to pick instructions because they're misaligned who they are. You're going to see Maguire as though he's rebelling. Why are you not following simple instructions? That's going to create friction. Then Maguire is going to be seen as rebellious, as stubborn. The root cause is not a behavioral moral issue. The issue is misaligned parenting. There's a reason the creator created Maguire that way. The reason he created Maguire that way is so that Maguire can serve the purpose of being a defender. of Manchester United. But you're raising him as a striker. Now what happened? Let's look at Maguire. Eventually, because of the experience Maguire is going through, he ends up hating football. He drops out and he goes to become a lawyer. All right? He was not going to be a lawyer. Then he works in law for 2 years, 3 years. He feels, I don't belong here. He sees this company. Hey, this way I'm working, this law firm. No. He changes to another one. 2, 3 years is not satisfied. He changes to another one. In 10 years, he has worked in 10 law firms, but he's never satisfied. What does he keep doing? He keeps asking God, God, show me my purpose. Show me my purpose. His 50 years, he has never discovered his purpose. 60 years, he's never satisfied. He goes to work to earn money, not live his purpose. What happened? Parenting destroyed the purpose of that child of Maguire, because you parented without understanding. You, based on your natural parenting approach, you never seeked to grow in your skill as a parent. And what did you do eventually? Children live without purpose. They keep changing jobs. They go to school to get a better job and earn better money. They live to get money to build a better house, buy a better car. So they live for money. They get 1 million, they want to get 2 million. They get 2 million, they want to get 3 million. They get 1 billion, they want to get 2 billion. They get 100 billion, they want to get 1 trillion. They are searching for something. And they think this money will be able to. They're searching for alignment who they were created. What happened? Now, we think they have deep research. If a child is, or a child is an action-oriented, spontaneous, freedom-loving, their career path and purpose lies in that line. What you need to do is give them choices, not commands. Provide freedom within the boundaries. Make it fun. Let them say, wake up at 7. If you wake up at 7, there's trouble. Avoid taking freedom away as the only consequence. You kill who they are. And eventually they lock out. They say, my mom, my dad does not understand me. If a child is blue, get back to the earth. Once you, that's what we did actually in our house. Once we aligned, our children became so open. They want to spend time with us. They keep telling us their stories, what they're thinking, what they're planning. They're growing in the different areas. We have one who just loves reading books. In a week, she can read. She's 14. I think she's 14 now. She can read several books. In a week, she can read 2 books, 3 books. We just allow them to become who they're supposed to be. This one is 17. At some point, she kept locking out. Right now, she's just free. She talks. She's blue. Okay? So if your child is blue, relationship focused, and they're sensitive and loyal, they're sensitive to every word that somebody speaks. Prioritize connection. Use gentle tone. Affirm your love constantly. Listen to their heart. For those children, avoid harsh words. For the orange child, sometimes when you use harsh words, they don't care. But for the blue child, when you use harsh words, you destroy them. Avoid dismissing their feelings. Avoid taking things personally when they hurt. Now look at it. We have also a green child in our home. They're very analytical, logical, and very curious. They look at everything from knowledge perspective. That's just who they are. For these kids, you need to give reasons for everything. Respect the need to understand when they ask many questions. Engage in discussion. Don't demand blind obedience. Don't go into because I said so. Dismissing the questions. Expecting compliance without explaining why that compliance. Now, for the girl children, they're very structured, responsible, and detail-oriented. For these children, provide clear expectations, be consistent, give them time to prepare for changes, affirm their reliability, avoid chaos and unpredictability. We have one of our girl children. If he's doing maybe in school and the teacher just come and says, they stop in 30 minutes or in 20 minutes, the brain stops working. And she can't think. Or when things are disorganized, the brain just stops working. That's who they are. They're created by God to create structure, order, and seamless flow of things. That's what they thrive in. For those children, avoid things like last-minute changes. Tell them before what is going to happen. All right? Now, key number 2. The first one I said is align your parenting approach to who the child is. When you go against, I give an example of Maguire, you destroy that child. Key number 2, align your parenting approach to their stage in life. This is 10 to 18. This is one of the most important shifts you're going to make. All right? As children grow, your role must change. Without changing your role, you lose your influence in that child's life. 0, from conception to birth, your role as a parent is a get. I think once you get one of our books, I think you're able to see there's one here. Parenting by Design. All right? From conception to birth is the get. From 0 to 3 years, you are the modeler. So you must shift. If you don't become a modeler 0 to 3, there are things you're going to lose. James, I think you're trying to, is it your daughter who's trying to doodle some things on the screen? James Watira, can probably delete them. Then from 4 to 9 years, become a trainer, instructor, or commander. Why? Because the child's brain has shifted and is expecting what we call structured learning, structured value development. That's why the schools tell you bring your child to school at 4 years. It is a developmental stage of the child, the brain, the cognitive capacity of the child, and the neurodevelopment of that child, the state of the what we call the neuroplasticity and brain malleability. They determine how the child should learn. So from 4 to 9 years, you become an instructor, a trainer, a commander. This is the only period that God has given you to actively train values. Now, 4 to 9, you realize the child is with you. You go to the bedroom, the child is there. You go to the toilet, you have to tell him, hey, stand outside. You go to the car, they cry, they want to be with you. 4 to 9. It is neurodevelopmentally designed like that by God. That's the only window that God has given you, where you have 100% influence of the child and the child has 100% cooperation. 4 to 9 years. This is a period called the moral development phase of a child. When your child moves to 10 years, 10 to 18, you change your position to become a coach and a mentor. That's where we are today. Now, what you'll notice from 4 to 9, your child is very next to you. From 10 to 18, the child starts slipping away slowly by slowly. They start forming their own life, their friends and everything outside your direct influence. The brain, we call it is in the form of the solidifying clay. From 0 to 3, we call it is watery clay. It flows in whichever container that you've provided. From 4 to 9, it is a wet clay. You mold it with the hands. You want to mold a car, you want to mold a house, you mold it. 4 to 9. I'm talking about the brain neuroplasticity and brain malleability. Your influence is limited to actual molding and working on it with your hands. Once you hit 10 to 18, the water in the clays reduces. While the first one was watery clay, the second one was wet clay. The third one, 10 to 18, is what we call solidifying clay, the brain of a child. The brain is solidifying around the values that you trained from 4 to 9, and the shape you give them in terms of love, affection, trust, presence, and all that from 0 to 3. So the brain starts solidifying into their own personal identity for their own independent living from 10 to 18. So that by 18, the brain has matured up and they move out of your house or they move out of your direct influence. They get the ID and they're now responsible. All right. From about ages 13, there's certain things come in the child's life, what called the moral awareness. It now starts forming actively. By the time they're 16, 17, moral awareness is fully formed. This moral awareness is supposed to ramp around the values that you train from 4 to 9 years. Okay, that's what we call parenting by design. And I have a book here we call Parenting by Design, 5 Windows of Parental Influence from Conception to Independent Living. From 18 years or 19 years to 80 years to 100 living, 100 years, that would call the independent living. During that period as a parent, the things to do in the child's life, we've been able to put them down and document them down. Okay, from 18 years or 19 years plus, you become a supporter, cheerleader, consultant, a legacy builder. Okay, the parent who managed everything for a 7-year-old cannot parent the same way a 17-year-old. Let's look at a coach, because we said from 10 to 18, you shift your role and you become a coach in the child's life. A coach, your new role is now you move from the manager, trainer, instructor to a coach and a mentor. The old method, how you used to parent your child from 4 to 9 years, was controlling the behavior and outcomes. But your new role right now, when the child is 10 years to 18, is developing character and decision making. The approach was directing, enforcing, and punishing. From 10 years is guiding, teaching, supporting. From below 10 years, the mindset, your mindset, I need to make sure they do the right thing. That mindset you have to get out of your mind, okay? And shift and say, I need to help them learn to choose the right thing. It's now them to do it themselves. Because now the brain now has the capacity and is developing what to call moral awareness. But the prefrontal cortex will develop later on, where they're now fully able to choose by themselves. They're able to regulate themselves from about 15, 16 years. But the moral awareness is developing. When they struggle, your old mindset was you step in and you fix it. But your new mindset from 10 to 18, you step back and coach them through. When they fail, you increase control, impose consequences below 10 years. But from 10 years, you do what? You help them reflect, learn, and try again. They're forming their own life and how they respond to their own issues. It's no longer you living the life through them. In decision making before 9 years, you decide for them. From 10 years, the parent you guide as the teenager practices to make their own decisions. Relationships, as a parent before 9 years, you are the authority, which was based on power. But from 10 years to 18, your authority in the child's life is based on trust and respect. You earn trust, you earn respect. When you become a coach and a mentor, it starts coming naturally. Now, long-term goal below 9 years was compliance when watched. But from 10 years, we see self-governance when alone. What does a coach do? A coach believes in you. A coach teaches skills. He gives feedback. He creates practices. The coach stays on the sideline. He does not stay in your life. He does not do it for you. That's the position you're supposed to take as a parent. Coaches don't play the game. All right? A coach's cheer, they cheer your progress from the sidelines. They celebrate every small win along the way. Yesterday, I saw one of the coaches, one of the teams that plays in the Premier League. I saw the coach running, and I saw some of his videos and pictures on social media today. I don't know the name of this team, but I'm not sure that they will win the league this season. But we are number 3 and we shall catch up. I think they might add some more games and shall catch up, but we pray. All right. So the coach believes in you. You must believe in your teenager. And when you believe in them, you give them the courage to keep training. Now let's look at a mentor. A mentor provides wisdom. They share lessons from their own personal experiences. You shift your position. You're now able to share with your teenager, your son, your daughter, your own personal experiences. You listen without judgment. A mentor creates safety for hard conversations. You ask powerful questions. You help them discover their own answers. You offer perspective. Mentors help you see the big picture. So you help a child see the big picture. You model the way. What does it mean? The mentors live what they teach. They walk alongside you. You walk alongside your daughter or your son. A mentor doesn't push from behind or pull from ahead. They walk with you. A manager produces compliance. A coach produces capability. A mentor produces character. Your team needs you to stop managing and start coaching. They need you on the sideline, cheering, teaching, guiding, not on the field, playing the game for them. Let's look at key number 3, which was map your language and communication. Key number 3 of reconnecting. Okay. The rule is change everything. Talk 20%, let them talk 80%. I already talked about this. Most parents have this backwards. They talk too much. We lecture, we direct, we correct, we advise, do this way. We make them as though they don't know anything. It's true they don't know, but they're learning to become their own. Teenagers have what we call the built-in lecture detectors. When you start talking, they often stop listening. They keep saying, my mom is old school, my father is old school, you don't understand. Because you gave them that room. How should we do this as parents? Listen 80% of the time instead of lecturing 80% of the time. Ask questions that can't be answered with one answer. Fine. For example, how was school? You get fine. Sit in silence and let them feel the silence. Don't jump in to fill every pause. Reflect back on what you hear them speaking. Do not offer solutions immediately. Though you know the answer, don't offer the solution. You are raising an independent person who's able to stand on their own. Validate feelings before fixing problems. Dismissing feelings to get the solutions, that's the wrong way. Part of reconnecting, use the certain language means wants to hear. They need to be to hear, I am on your side, I believe in you, I'm not going anywhere, we'll figure out this together, I love you no matter what, tell me more, I am sorry, I was wrong. You're teaching them, okay? I see you're trying, you matter to me. You're trying to reconnect. So the first one was diagonalize. Number 2 is reconnect before. Some of the practical tips for better communications is timing matters. Talk in the car during activities, before bed, not in the moment of conflict. Put the phone down and show there's eye contact. You matter more than this device. That's what you're trying to communicate. Don't force it. I am here when you're ready. It's more powerful than demanding conversation. Don't go demand. Watch from far, be aware, but don't go demand. Apologize when you mess up. Nothing builds trust faster than owning up your mistakes. Celebrate their wins. Not effort, not just outcomes. Step 3, those are 2. Step 3, establish non-negotiables collaboratively. So the first step you're dealing with it was diagnose the issue. The second step was to create the right environment by reconnecting, getting the world for you to be able to influence them. Because at some point you got out of that. So reconnect back. So that was step 2. And step 3, establish non-negotiables collaboratively, because now you've reconnected and you are now in the world. The small number of things that must hold at all the time. You're not looking at controlling them, you're looking at influencing them. You are aligning in who they are created. You've taken your position, your approach as a coach, as a mentor. Okay? And now you are establishing non-negotiables. You're now getting back your authority as a parent in influencing them. Once connection is rebuilding, you can now begin to address the boundaries. But notice, connection comes first. Things that must happen for safety and basic functioning. Those are the most things we're supposed to establish. For example, basic safety, knowing gender whereabouts, okay, school attendance, no violence or substance use in home, basic respect. Now, you use these ones as the foundation to build on others. When the child is now able to observe the basic safety, he told where he is, he earns more points in terms of credibility for you now to increase, to give them more freedom. All right? So you start with the basics as you build on those other ones that you want to establish in their lives. So why the collaborative approach? How to set boundaries without triggering rebellion. Step 1, start with their perspective. Help me understand what's important to you about having freedom. Start from their perspective. Share your concern from a place of care. I worry about your safety when I don't know where you are. Invite them into problem solving. What could we do that will give you freedom and give me peace of mind? Negotiate in good faith. Be willing to compromise a parent. Take the idea seriously. This is practicing for adulthood. What this approach does, the power of collaborative boundaries. Treats your teen as a partner, not as a problem. This gets something in them. Gives them practice in responsible decision making. You are now training the skill of decision making. Shows that you respect the autonomy, right? Which is extremely very important for teenagers. We talked about 2 things, autonomy and peer, and the influence of peers in their lives. Then it builds trust on both sides, creates buy-in because they participated in creating the solution. Document the agreement, both of you sign it, post it somewhere that's visible to know that you agreed on it, okay? The last step is now train responsibility through graduated freedom. Train responsibility through graduated freedom. Freedom is earned through demonstrated responsibility. We use these basic things I talked about to now graduate responsibility. Level 1, demonstrated responsibility and earned responsibility. They're 2 different things. Consistent check-ins, basic honesty. What does it do? The child earns more freedom, expanded weekend freedom. The more they demonstrate the things we talked about, let me just go back there. The basic things, this one's here. Basic safety, school attendance, no violence or violence or substance use in the home, basic respect. You can add in the list that you feel these are very basic for our own home. Once they demonstrate responsibility in these very basic ones, okay, like safety, school attendance, those are basic, they must do it. Respect, no verbal abuse. Those are basics that you must start from. Now, once they're able to demonstrate responsibility in this basic, now you do what you're calling graduated freedom. You train responsibility through graduated freedom, okay? Once they're able to demonstrate responsibility in those areas, you expand what you call the earned freedom. Full transparency about the plans. The curfew is the curfew is later. Okay. Follow through on commitments. They get more autonomy. Let's check in. Mature decision making over time. Significance, independence. Now, how to implement graduated freedom? Start where they are at. Start where they are. Okay. What responsibility can they demonstrate now? Start where they are. Okay. What the responsibility they can demonstrate at that moment. We've already given those basic things. Make the connection explicit. Give them the path forward. When they sleep, recalibrate. Don't punish. You forgot to check in. Let's step back at a level and try again. Celebrate progress. When they're consistent, celebrate it. They earn more freedom. Why does this approach work? It's logical. Teens can see the connection between responsibility and freedom. It is fair. Everyone knows the rules and the path forward. It builds skills. They're practicing what called self-governance. It preserves relationships. You are coaching and not controlling. It prepares them for adulthood. This is exactly how the real world works. Allow me to go to just a few takeaways and then open up for questions. Then we'll be able to conclude from that. Remember, this control always backfires with teenagers. Behavior is communication. Look beneath the surface. Connection comes before correction always. Non-negotiables are few. Focus on safety. All right. The first thing is to start restoring is safety, because they buy in easily, and then you build on that one for what we are calling demonstrated responsibility freedom that's earned through demonstrated responsibilities. Apparent, you are part of this, and you have to do it because it belongs to you. Most of these things, we have them within our courses. So in case you might want to know much more, we encourage you. We have one course starting next week, the values-driven parenting course. Must be starting on Tuesday. Our courses are quite deep and rich, well researched, very modern, focusing on the modern child. Okay, because we've not grown up so much in the olden days. So our advice is not based on those days, it's based on the parent of today who's parenting a child right now. It's based on experience and a lot of research they've done in these areas. So our courses are quite modern, okay, and based on the child of today and not the child of yesterday. We don't bring advices or guidelines that are based in the 1980s because you grew up in the 80s or 70s or 60s. No, we are a modern approach because the challenges are modern and today. Thank you so much. That's the end of my presentation. I pray that you've picked something, and I encourage you that in case you have a question, kindly go ahead and ask as we go through to see what you put in the chats in case there are any questions there. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I think that was very impactful, or I don't know if some of you are overwhelmed or whatever it is. Maybe you can put it in the chat. Are you overwhelmed? Are you unlearning? Are you learning some things? Or some of us actually realizing that what have I been doing all along as a parent? You know, it's a mix of feelings, a mix of reactions. But I'm sure our time today has been to good use. Okay? So it's been a journey for us to catch quite a number of things. And I believe we've taken notes. For those who need the slides, I'd already shared our contacts in the chat. You can just reach out to us on WhatsApp, and we shall share for those who need them, or even the recording. So take note of that. I'd also shared the links. There is a general group, our WhatsApp group, our community for values-driven parenting. But I also shared the link for those who are interested in the upcoming class so that we can get you there at a personal level. So I believe as our speaker shared, there were quite a number of questions that came up. And please keep the questions coming, and I want to quickly dive into that the bit of Q&A, so that some of our issues have are addressed. But also I can see a number of us, I'm sure our questions have been answered for those who sent in their challenges as parents at the start of the webinar, and even what they feel about it. I am confident and I hope that you've got something that is going to help you move on from today and on how you're going to deal with your teenager. And for those who are probably, I know sometimes in webinars you're caught up in quite a number of things, but go back and listen in and take notes and see what you're going to do moving forward, because it's important that you're raising children who are connected with you, can listen to you, not raising children who can't wait to leave your home and never come back. I think a lot of us are getting quite a number of insight. So when I look through the questions, I think the first question came from Nancy, who was asking on how to balance the opinions of her son, which she wants to consider with the direction as a parent. I don't know if Nancy will answer, because you asked this at the beginning before the speaker started. So they're going to be responded to.
Just pass over.
Okay, let me pass over. Let me see what the speaker has to comment about that.
Yes. Yes, because I think there are several questions here. I see Brendan says, can we sometimes dictate and decide for a teenager when we see the direction they want may not be the best, e.g. in school choices? We should guide, but can't we sometimes dictate? Dictating means you're going against the will or the wish. Choices in school, they're guided by who the child is, their natural strengths, inherent capacities, inclinations. That's what determines the career path. It's not just about interest. That's why we, within our training and approach, we provide tools from 4 years. You should be able to fill in the tools. I noted my camera was off all through, and I don't know. Maybe I can get a predisposition card here just to see. I noted my camera was blocked. Sorry about that. But let me get a predisposition card here. Look at it. And the guide, within our guide, yes, it's here. Here, I don't know if you're able to see. This predisposition card, it's able to help you see which category does your child fall in. From this category, we've been able to document in our guide. This is our guide for those who've been able to buy a toolkit. You'll find there's a page, what's called the principle of exclusive parenting on chapter 4. And when you go ahead, it should be able to guide you the career path for the different children, the goal child, which part they thrive. This is based on deep research. If they go in the medical field, which part they thrive in based on the natural wiring, how God wired them. If they go in business, management, logistics, if they go to things like architecture and engineering, where do they fit in? Education and public administration. So you don't, I'll give you an example. In my case, I did engineering from the university. And I practiced engineering for quite some time, more than 15 years. But eventually, I wasn't feeling what I was doing. What happened? I had to change to what I'm doing right now. I do research in this area day and night. I feel it. I enjoy it. I talk about it. I struggled to find my footing in the area of engineering for more than 15 years. How did I end up engineering? My father chose for me. He said, this good, go and do it. So be very careful when you say we dictate. Remember, that child is not here to live your wishes. He is here on earth to fulfill his God-given purpose. After 18 years, you slowly fizzle to only a cheerleader, a supporter in the child's life. And it's him who is left by those choices to leave them out. So guide the child, but align your guidance to who the child is. How they're designed by the creator. So I hope that responds to you. How can you diagnose that your child has this color principles, example, green, blah, blah. Yes, Munira, Ahmed, we have the guides, we have the tools. Okay. I think eventually I'll also be putting them on our website so that easily I'll be able to access them. But for now, I've not been able to put, but you've been able to develop all these different tools that are able to guide you. Once if you're part of the class that we always train, we always provide these tools for free. You are able to you receive what we call the training hamper, that you are able to get those tools for free. So Munira, that is what happens. We shall be sharing the recording. Thank you, Stella. It's a great presentation. Let me just check if there's can we sometimes dictate Brendan? Brendan, I think I responded to that one. Just give me a thumbs up if the response is satisfactorily. Okay. Yes, let me keep going up to check. Is it okay to reward a child when they do good? I tried doing it last year and I see that it motivates him not to disobey instructions. We have a target at least on what levels is rewarded. There's a way of rewarding. You always train the same. We have a whole section, what we call reward and consequences. We reward values. We focus on the heart, not on the activity. Rewarding is to train the heart, not to acclaim the activity. There are two different things. Okay, we train parents to shift from activity-based form of parenting to values-driven parenting, where you focus on the heart of a child. What do I mean by activity? I'll go back to a traditional example I keep using. You tell your child to wash utensils, you come back in the evening, you find the child wash utensils, and they're very happy. You say, good girl, good boy. Okay, but we tell the parents, don't focus on the activity. That's just an activity. An activity is a value carrier. Ask your child, what time did you start washing? You realize that's washing at 6 p.m. and finish at 6:45 because he knows you come home at 7. Did you tell the child and say wash at this time? When you come back, evaluate that as a target item required. How did the child wash? Diligence. Did they actually wash? Responsibility. So activities are value carriers. And so we don't reward activities done. We reward the value, the state of the heart, because you're focusing on building the heart. When you focus on the activity, when the reward is not there, the activity will not be done. Is it too late to train my 16-year-old about responsibility? Value? No, it's not too late. You can train. Flavia, Ambikire, you can get in touch. We can always be able to support and guide you that. If the parent diagnoses the course of behavior after the child is beyond the teenage bracket, is it possible to restore relationship or the trust? Yes, it is very possible. Within our guide, Parenting by Design, the book, I don't know if you're able to see it. Parenting by Design, the book, we've been able to guide all those things. How do you relate with a child at different stages? Beyond 19 years, there's a way how to go about it. You also have another book written, How to Train Values, for a child who's 15 years and beyond, who's maybe getting outside or already outside the active parenting bracket. You should also be able to get that book, able to guide that. So I'm moving a bit fast because of time. How do I know my child personality, being able to respond to that? I guess we need the principle of different characters, biblical, sport, world leaders. Any will push the lesson home. I didn't understand that, Priva. and maybe you can clarify it better. Great lesson, use biblical examples kindly. We may not be into sport. Sorry, Mumeri, I didn't see this one. I should have changed to the Bible. But in the Bible, you see that different people. There's Peter and there's Paul. Paul is an orange by nature. Peter is a blue by orange. How does God deal with Paul and how does God deal with Peter? Look at when Peter messes up, Jesus comes and encourages him. Take care of my sheep. He repeats even 3 times. Okay? We see Peter shedding tears, immediately messes up. He cries and leaves as after denying Jesus 3 times. Very different. But look at how Paul, look at the call of Paul. Totally different. It's actually lightning from heaven. It strikes him. That's the only thing he understands. Very different approaches. Now look at the things that Paul achieves. They are called, created, and wired for different things. So based on the personality, God had to bring in somebody called Paul. He had a Peter, he had a Mark, why didn't he use the Paul, the Mark, the whatever to write 3/4 of the New Testament? He needed a person of a different personality. Yet he needed a Peter to take care of the church, to nurture the church. He was the first pope. He needed a Paul to plant and keep planting and going and going and going without stopping. All right? Those are 2 different people within the Bible. All those kinds of examples in the Bible. Parenting is becoming so academic. Yes, Bonnie example, because it's actually very complicated. We're dealing with a child's character. Character is very complicated. Behavior is very complicated. Our children are being raised by an entire world. All right? And parenting, when we go to schools like Strathmore right now, they have a course in parenting. You can take it up. Several universities are now considering areas in parenting. Now parenting is trainable. You cannot just rely on the natural part of parenting. All right, say traditional parenting doesn't work. No, we did not say it doesn't work. We said it's not adequate. Priva, tradition, what we call the natural approach to parenting, is not adequate to raise the child in the current world. The child in the current world is exposed to so many things globally. Social media is watching, and the skills needed. For example, traditional parenting, how do you help a child? How do you help a child to stop, or how do you eliminate addiction to screen or social media in a child of today using the natural parenting approaches? It's virtually impossible. You're going to take the cane and cane, but the child will not stop. You're only going to drive the child away. In those days, it was not able to drive the child away because the child was not so much informed. He did not have other source of information. The child today is informed, is protected by the law, so many things. That's why relying on just that approach of parenting is not able to work today. And those parents who are just relying on that approach of parenting, you can see today the world and the struggle they're experiencing. Because of that approach of parenting is becoming more and more and more harder for parents. That's why we are saying gain the skill of parenting. How do you deal with this behavior? How do you deal with this? And all that kinds in different areas, okay? Yes, the slides will be available, Lydia, in Nairobi. The slides will be available. Most of them are hostile to supportive advice. I think we've gone through that. They are hostile because of the approach you're taking. Virginia and Juki, that's what you say. My 3-year-old is obsessed with perfumes. Like she can do anything for perfume. And I think we've been able to address this. In case of anything, come back to us. Okay, the child is becoming their own. Give space, take a back seat, get back in the life, and then be able to guide from there. For those who are on YouTube, we shall be able to share the slides. So we'll share your contact, then shall be able to share the slide. We've shared the link for you to be able to share the slides. I'm not sure I've gone through everything. Let me check. Just a minute. Thanks for wonderful presentation. I think I've been able to answer almost everything. We have a few minutes to close. Does one deal with the pressure for sleepovers? How does one deal when to have on phones because friend X was younger? Now, in the 21st century where we are living in one of the webinars in our training, we helping parents on how to deal with the phone issue and also the issue of sleepovers. But at the core of it, we are telling the parent that you can no longer put the controls on the child the same way you did many years ago. So right now we are saying focus on the moral compass of the child. Focus on helping the child know that this is wrong, this is right. I cannot take this one because it's wrong. Focus on training values. Focus on the internal moral compass. Empower the child to make the choices by themselves. Because you can lock the house and say, no phone today. Tomorrow is playing with the neighbor and they're watching pornography. Or they're at school, a child comes to the story which they watched somewhere. You are not there. So in today's world, it's virtually impossible just to use those controls. But it's a method of putting controls that we always train. I think we went through it in one of the webinars, the last webinar went through. Okay. So how do you deal with the pressure for sleepovers? Train values, try and help the child. Okay. Put for him targets. If you're able to achieve this one, tell him, we'll go for sleepover. And if you go for sleepover, if you hear something, you lose it. Okay. What you call graduated responsibility that we just talked about. Okay. Start with things. Once it becomes better, let him keep growing and all that. Slides. I see the emails, the slides. Thanks so much for the contacts. Okay. I think I'm done with responding to the questions on the chat. Do we have any other question? And then we should be able to close after this. I want now to ask anyone who has a question that can be able to ask. Share your contacts. What you do actually as people, please just send a WhatsApp message to those numbers. It's going to be much more easier for us to share. Send a WhatsApp message to any of these contacts, the 0720 that we shared. Let me provide it here. Yes, it's going to be shared. Share our WhatsApp message there on that contact, and then we are going to send it over to that WhatsApp. Okay, just send it to WhatsApp so that we don't have to struggle with all these emails. Kindly, Susan, send a WhatsApp message to this number, then you should be able to share the slides. Do you have any question? Somebody is able to talk and just ask a question, then you should be able to respond to it, then we'll be able to conclude. How do we deal with peer pressure on the part of the child? Mark, I think we responded to this. If I can go back to these original slides, we said the need, allow me to go back to the original slides, the two things that we talked about here. That teenagers' brain is wired for two things. Number one, they want to separate from you. To drive, to become, I'm not sure if I'm still sharing, but the number one is autonomy. They want to leave your home and be alone. Number two is peer connection. They need to belong outside your direct control as a father. That's how the brain is wired, and that's how the brain is becoming. A child 4 to 9, the brain is wired to be close to you all the time. You go, the bedroom is there, you go, the kitchen is there. You go, when you want to leave the compound, they're asking what time you're going to come back. That's how the brain is wired. Why? Because that's a period of maximum influence. But once they hit 10 years, the brain shifts in terms of the neuroplasticity and brain malleability. The brain shifts and start getting wired into autonomy and peer connection. If you have not trained your child values 4 to 9, the peer influence comes in to fill the gaps that you've left. You've not trained your child in 10 to 18. What you do as a parent, you take the position of a coach and a mentor. That's what you've gone through in this training. Okay? And through that one, you're able to guide your child and restore those graduated process, restore what you call the moral compass of the child, knowing what is right, what is wrong. But it has to be done by aligning yourself to the child, number one. And number two, aligning your approach. Become a coach, become a mentor. If you don't take those two positions, you lose influence in the child's life and you may not get it back. Not because they want, that's how God has wired them. Okay? That's just, the brain starts developing to live outside your home from 10 years. It starts solidifying to become independent, what we call personal identity from 10 years. So what you do as a parent, you align to it. If you don't align to it, you lose your influence in the child's life. And you're going to keep struggling and struggling and struggling in your parenting because you have refused to align to who the child is becoming. This is not the child who wants. As I mentioned before, it is by design. Okay? I hope that answers that question. Not so sure. Dealing with peer influence, how to deal with peer pressure on part of the child. Anthony, Mark, Charlie, Lizzo, I think I've been able to respond to that the child's brain is wired towards peers. And so you're supposed to get into their life and to guide them from that perspective. Okay. Vincent Wasonga kindly send a message to that WhatsApp to be able to share. Thanks for the wonderful research presentation. God bless you, empowering my people. My email is, yes. Munira sent a WhatsApp to that whatever number. We shall be able to forward you the slides. Thank you for looking forward to the next training. Yes, in 2 weeks we'll be having another training. I really need this training. It was very important. Thank you so much, Jane Koigi. Yes, you can also join our classes, one starting on Tuesday. For those who want to do the class on Tuesday, kindly get in touch. Yes. Thank you so much. Yes. God bless you. Wonderful presentation. That is Jocelyn Priva. Thanks for saving nations. Wow. That's a good one. Priva. Where is the number? CK is asking where's the number. Just paste it back there. Going to paste it back there. Just get in touch. Parenting, get in touch. How do you get the book? Just send a text message. The book is actually 1,000 Kenya shillings. All our books are about 1,000 Kenya shillings. Then you should be able to get it. Okay. Yes. I think the number has been shared. CK. Thank you. Very helpful. Yes, I think titles for the book. There is this one, Parenting by Design. Okay, Parenting by Design. Helena Cheng, thank you. Very informative, practical. Yes. So thank you, our team. We consider these are done. We look forward to hear from you in terms of registration for the classes. And then we shall be having our next probably webinar in the next 2 weeks or so as God opens the door. Okay. Jesse says, my daughter's 19. I'm grateful that I now know the gaps and what to do next. Blessing to Jesse. Kindly go and apply them. And may the Lord bless you. Yes, Liz, you say thanks. This is very nice. Be well. You can check out our website, www.copathimpact.com. Yes, that's our website. You can check it out in case of anything. If you want more information. Yes, I've shared it up here. Gladys, it's just up here, the website.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay. So for those we've shared our contacts. For those who need slides or recordings, please reach out to us. Okay, then you'll get all the details, or you'll get the answers to all the other inquiries that you had. But thank you so much for sparing off this time to, to attend to this. And I believe our journey as parents is going to be better. Okay, thank you very much for your time. You can leave at your pleasure, please.